Hello and welcome. I'm Stormknight and I'm going to guide you through a tutorial on D&D Beyond. This episode, Homebrew Feats. So here we are on the homepage of D&D Beyond. I'm going to dig straight into it. Homebrew content. Over here we can see there are the ability to be able to view the homebrew feats that are existing, or we can create our own. So let's just take a moment to have a quick look at homebrew feats. As we can see, there are 3 pages currently approved. I want to have a quick look down here for some ideas. So a good way to do that is to use tags. And let's say I want to use something that has combat. I click filter. This shows me all of the homebrew feats that we've currently got on here that have combat. If I want to look at these and see the details, I can click there and you'll be able to open them up like that. Here's one that somebody's submitted called Forearms. Interesting. But there isn't what I want next. What I want is quite specific to my own character in this campaign. He's a halfling ranger and he's from a mysterious subrace that had become influenced with insectoid traits due to an ancient curse. So I'm going to go straight in and create a new feat. I could use an existing feat as a template, that facility's there, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to create from scratch. Here we are on the blank screen for Create a Feat. First thing we need is a name. That's the thing I always find the hardest, but I've got it sorted out this time. Insatiable Hunter is what I'm going to call it. Version. Don't have to put anything in this field. It's good practice to do so. I'm going to make this 1.0. That means that when I make changes, if I make them in the future, then I can easily see what's going on with the different versions. And I need a description here. Well, I've prepared this as well in advance. So, you manifest a tougher body as well as claws and spikes due to an insectoid ancestry. We're going to put more information in there later to make sure we properly describe everything that the feat does, but for now that will do and will get us started in terms of creating the feat. Click the Create Feat button. As you can see, it's now created our feat. That is now actually a feat that we can add to our characters, but it doesn't do anything right now. So let's go in and add some things to make it actually functional. To make a feat do something, we need to add a modifier. So I'm going to go click here straight away, add a modifier. First thing I want to do is to make this feat give me an extra point of con. So I'm going to go to here, add bonus, and then there's a subtype. As you can see, there's all sorts of things we can actually add a bonus. We can add bonuses to ability checks, maximums for ability scores, so we could say this feat allows your strength to go up as high as 24. We can add them to specific skills, we can add armor class, you can add a lot of things, many things, but in this case I actually just want constitution. So I can search through here, or I can just start typing. Let's see, constitution score, that's what I want, and I'm going to add a value of 1, and that's it, and I click the save button. You can now see that's showing there as a modifier, bonus constitution score, value of 1. Next thing I want to do is to add a further modifier. I want there to be unarmed attacks. I want this halfling to be able to manifest these spikes and claws out of his forearms. Yeah, maybe I've been watching a few too many superhero movies, but that's the way that we're going with this. So I'm going to add, we'll look down all these various things here. I will go through all these later once we've done this, once I've taken you through it. A natural weapon. The default's bludgeoning, that doesn't seem appropriate. Piercing, slashing, that sounds about right, so we'll select that. Now, ability score. I'm going to select Dex here. What that means is that this natural weapon is going to use our Dex bonus for attacks and damage. It's kind of like a finesse weapon, so let's bear that in mind when we're doing the rest of this. So damage, I'm going to make this 1d6. That's in keeping pretty much with a one-handed finesse weapon. We could add a static amount, so if we wanted it to do 1d6 plus 2 plus the dex bonus, we could just like add a 2 in there, but 1d6 is enough for this, and I click the save button. As you can see there, natural weapon, slashing, 1d6, going off dex, and that's added. The next thing I'm going to add is to make him tougher. Well, tougher when not wearing armour, because just adding a whole load of armour classes is going to be unbalancing. But the game already has precedence for allowing barbarians, etc. to use a stat instead of armour, so let's go and duplicate that. So add another modifier. And this time I'm going to use set. Set allows me to set many things, as we looked at previously, with bonus. So I'm going to go and look here and unarmoured armour class. And I'm going to set it equal to my con bonus. What this will do is we're saying if I'm not wearing armour, my armour class is equal to my ability score bonus. It'll still get the dex on top of that. So let's click save there. That means our halfling's going to be, if he's got decent con, about as good as wearing studded leather or so forth. Except without having to wear the armour. Okay, and we now have our set of modifiers there that are actually going to make the changes to the character sheet to reflect what we want this feat to do. And that's important, that it's not just some text, that it actually has these modifiers here that affect the character sheet. So let's go ahead and click Save Changes. And I'm going to click here and open this back up. Now, I need to put in the description what this does. I'm going to add onto there, you gain the following benefits, sticking to the similar wording style that's used elsewhere. And we'll start a bullet point list. Increase your constitution score by 1 to a maximum of 20. Okay, next one. I want to mention about the spikes. I don't really want you to have to sit through watching me type slowly, so I've already prepared the text for this. And this is describing what's going on here, so as much information as possible is good. So I'm explaining that there's claws from the tips of the fingers and spikes from forearms, extending, retracting, and mentioning here that it does 1d6 plus dexterity modifier instead of the normal bludgeoning damage for an unarmed strike. And then we're also going to add in another line. Your body toughens while you aren't wearing armour. You can calculate your AC as 10 plus your constitution modifier plus your dexterity modifier. I've gone with the American spelling of armour here, which my browser said, hey, you're making an error. That's because I'm in Britain. Anyway, we also need to add tags to this, so what's going to be appropriate? Combat, that's going to be a good one. Let's select that. What else? Damage, definitely. And it's also a buff because it's making us tougher, so that looks suitable to me. So when people are searching, and if they're looking for our feat, if we publish it, they'll be able to find it using these tags. And I click Save Changes. We're not going to worry about spells, limited use options or prerequisites for this particular feat. Let's go take a look at my character. Go over here, select my characters, and here we go, Torben. Let's view him. Okay, he's an 8th level ranger. He's currently in armor class 14 because he's not wearing any armour. He's got studded leather, but he prefers not to wear it. There's reasons behind that. A lot of it's to do with the race, and it's part of the reason why we're creating this feat. Now, I'm going to go edit the character. And if we look down here, under Ranger, we will see Ability Score Improvement, which I've not selected. We gained this at 8th level, so a feat, and I'm going to select the feat Insatiable Hunter. There it is. That's the one we just created. And click Next. I'm going to go back to the character sheet. And you can see the armor class has jumped up immediately. 17. Well, the calculation we said it's going to be a default of 10 plus our con modifier, which is 3, so that's 13, and we're adding our dex modifier of 4, so that's 17. So it's correctly calculated that. if I go down here and put on this studded leather, you can see it's dropped down to 16, so it's calculating that correctly. It knows we've put that on, and the feat said if we're unarmoured, that's how we calculate it. So I'm going to go take that off. In fact, I'm going to remove the item entirely. We now don't need that. You can also see that it's added here an attack, because we added a natural attack. So we now have Insatiable Hunter. We have +7 to hit, which is dex bonus, and proficiency bonus, +4 and +3, and damage of 1d6 +4 because of our dex bonus. It's indicating its slashing type, and it's actually put the description of the feat in here as well, so we've got that for reference. And there we go, we have our feat, and it's working as we wanted it to. Let's run through and create another one. So I've noticed there's a number of feats that improve the ability of a character to be able to perceive their surroundings. So I quite like the idea of alert. I want my character to be able to have this bonus to initiative. Gloomstalkers are all about initiative. If they win initiative on the first turn, they can get in there and kill people really quickly. The not being surprised and creatures don't gain advantage, I don't really need that, and I don't really see that being appropriate. But the +5 initiative, would really like that. The other one that I was keeping an eye on is the Observant feat. We'll scroll down here and take a look at that. You get a bonus to your stat, and you get a bonus to your passive perception and your passive investigation scores. Let's put together something that's a bit of a hybrid of those. I'm going to go here and let's go back to create a new feat, and again create a feat from scratch. I'm going to call this one Peerless Explorer. The character's going to be good at moving up ahead of the rest of the party and getting the drop on things. Again, version 1.0. Now this time I've actually put quite a lot of the text in already, so I'm just going to paste this in here and make it into bullet points. What does this do? You gain a +5 bonus to initiative. Okay. You have a +5 bonus to your passive wisdom perception score. Now you'll notice here that I have these tags here. Skill. This is something that D&D Beyond does a really great job at, which is you can create these tooltips. What this will do is it'll mean that when anybody's viewing this feat, they can hover over the word perception and they will see what the perception skill does. And lastly, on your first turn of each combat, you may take the disengage action as a bonus action. Disengage is an action, and that's something else that we can link here. I'm just going to go here, and that is an action. So we open a tag, and then we close the tag. So that's the text that we want there for that. I'm going to put some feat tags in here as well immediately because we know what we're doing with this one. Let's look down here, what do we have? Detection, we're good at spotting things. And exploration. And I'm going to add combat as well because we've put that bit in there about on the first turn of combat, so it's relevant. Let's save that. As a note, you can use all of the standard tools here to put quotes, format things, bold, italics, add paragraphs. The moderators don't appreciate it if you go too crazy. Certainly if you put a load of rainbow text in there, it's likely to get refused if you try to publish it. But for your own use, you can do what you want. If you want to make it so that all the text is purple and green, then knock yourselves out and go do that. Right, I'm going to add the modifiers. So let's go add a new one. First thing we want to do is to add a +5 bonus to our initiative. So bonus. Let's start typing initiative. There. And the amount we're adding is a fixed value of 5 this time. Bam. That's simple. I'm going to add another bonus, which is we have +5 to our passive perception. So add modifier, bonus, and let's just start typing. There we go, passive perception. There it is, and we're going to add a 5 again. Interesting, 5 is a standard number that tends to be used in these. It's considered to be kind of similar to giving advantage. So that's the 2 there. Now, the last one of our abilities there, on your first turn of each combat, you may take the disengage action as a bonus action. That isn't something we can build a modifier for into the character sheet, and nor should we, because it's not something that affects the state of the character. It's something that you can do as an action. So that's it, we're done with that, and we can save the changes, and our feat is created. When our character levels up, we can add that on later. I'm now going to take you through what the other options are that we can add, and how we can expand on things using feats. Prerequisites. A prerequisite is something that you must have to be able to take and use the feat. So I'm going to add a prerequisite. And as a description, we're going to say must be a halfling. That'll be something particular to this game world that we've decided this feat can only be taken by halflings. So prerequisite type, we can select an ability score, so you can say you must have a strength of at least 13 or a dex of at least 15. You can set a custom value. You can set a proficiency. You must have a particular proficiency. It must be of a certain race or size or sub-race. In this case, we're going to set race, and we're going to say must be halfling, and hit save. We don't want to add another one, so let's see, we've got that there. Must be a halfling, associated types and subtypes, race, halfling. That's added. So now this feat that we're creating, the Peerless Explorer, will only appear for halflings. Options. Simply put, options allow you to make selections when you take a feat. So we can create a feat that allows multiple options. We could, for example, say that we are creating a feat that allows the user to select one of a number of musical instruments to use it with. In this case, we could add drum. Your power is used with a drum, and create option. Okay, now we go and add an option instead, and we say flute. I think you can see how this is going. And what will happen here, we could add many other options to there. You could use this when you're selecting perhaps a type of creature that your feat works against, and many other things. But what will happen is, when a character selects this feat, they will be asked to choose one of these options, and it will remember which one they picked. In this case, a cat would have to pick a drum or a flute as what they use. Doesn't necessarily make sense in the context of this particular feat, but I just wanted to show you how this works. Modifiers, we've been through a fair bit. There's quite a lot of different modifiers, and if I went through all of them right now in this video, it would take a much longer time than it's already taking. So we're going to commit to getting all these written down, so there'll be some kind of reference for you. Now, spell. Add a spell or spell list that the feat may grant access to. So I could say here, I'm going to add a spell, and you can see there's a whole load of different options you can add to this. So it will give you all of the spells here as reference, all the spells, and I might say, well actually, you know what, I want them to be able to do chain lightning, and spell level 5, it's going to be cast as a wizard, and you can set a particular attack type. Well, we're not doing that for this because it's chain lightning. You can set the ability score it comes off, so you can actually say, well, we're going to use int for this. You can have number of uses. We can say, okay, well, it's one use. Reset type, well, have to have a long rest, so you get one per long rest. We could say until dawn or short rest. Cast at level, we're going to say they cast it as if they are 5th level. Casting time is 1 action, but we could say they can cast it as a bonus action, or indeed it takes them a full hour, or various others in between, so we're just going to say it's an action. Spell range type, it's a ranged spell. And we can put a ranged distance in there, but it's the chain lightning spell, so it'll pick these up anyway. And save. And you can see that's given chain lightning. There's a fair few options here, and again, the documentation will make that more clear. Add limited use. As it says there, example is luck points. So you can have an ad hoc ability. So we could say here, I'm going to say ambush, and it's per short rest, and 3 uses. The level there is if it requires the character to be a certain level. So what we could do is we could say, we could define a feat that gives additional power when you reach higher level. So this part of it only unlocks once you reach maybe 4th level. That really doesn't fit with most of the design of the way that 5th edition D&D works, but it's certainly there as an option. So I'm just going to leave this as that. And we've gained this ambush ability, and once per short rest. We would have to define that up here as to what that ambush ability did if we were going to use it. And there we have a couple of feats that we've created. If we go here to view Homebrew feats, you won't see your feats that you've created in here, because these are the published Homebrew feats. What you need to do is to go to Homebrew, and you can say view my Homebrew creations, and your Homebrew creations as a page is all of the Homebrew that you personally have created. The view my Homebrew collection is Homebrew that you've added to your collection. That will be all the ones you've created, plus any others that you've gained through being in a shared campaign with other people, or through adding it to your collection via having a subscription. If I just click here, view my Homebrew, you can see there's various ones here I've been creating as tests on my main account that have shared across. And you can also see there's Insatiable Hunter and Peerless Explorer that we've created. And you can even just open those up and see exactly what they do. It'll give you that. You can remove them from your collection here, and you can view the details page. So if we click on that, that takes us to the details page there, and we can see what's going on with it. And that is Feats.